Welcome to Cinema Gulp, and this is our Black Panther review. Okay, welcome to Cinema Gulp. This is Ben.
And I'm John.
And this is Mark.
Okay, and we just got back from seeing Black Panther. Now, we got a lot to discuss. We want to talk about some of the characters, some of the stories. But Mark, since you haven't been on in a while, first time on camera, give us a big smile.
So it was definitely a fun movie. From what I know from the source, or the comics, it was very true to the source from a lot of the scenes that we saw with the world building, where we got to see a lot more of Wakanda. And I found it fun and entertaining, lots of action, lots of great character moments, and for the most part, I was pretty entertained.
Entertained, yes. Confused sometimes, yes. A little underwhelmed sometimes even, yes. I thought it was a fun movie, but I think it's a good February release. But I had some issues with certain things about the film, but overall I thought it was a pretty good movie.
I really liked the world building. That was something that I really enjoyed in the movie. There were characters that I enjoyed, but others that kind of fell flat a little bit. I had issues with the story as well. Some plot holes, some things that don't totally add up. But I enjoyed Wakanda the most.
Favorite characters I'll throw right up. Michael B. Jordan, they called him the Deathmonger, I think, or the Killmonger.
No, Killnumber.
That's a cool
no, I
name.
thought it was Killnumber.
Killmonger.
Was it Monger?
Yeah. Not to be confused with Ironmonger, played by Jeff Bridges in Iron Man 1. This is the good part when you talk about MCU villains, because I liked his character. He was badass, and he was tough and brutal and menacing, like a villain should be. When he's in full force and they're going head to head, I so much more believed how he could kick the shit out of King T'Chaka. I thought Michael B. Jordan was great and one of the better MCU villains, as was Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, I really
a little bit
enjoyed him.
underused, but man, he was chewing up the scenery and having such a good time.
What they gave him, he was perfect for. He was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Totally.
Andy Serkis.
He's so much fun.
He had a lot of levity, and he was badass. The last time you saw him, I think he had an arm ripped off, and they do some cool stuff with the new arm that he has and stuff.
Not enough of it, though.
Not enough of it, though.
But cool.
But the two villains were the standout characters of the film. And then for the hero, Chadwick Boseman, he's kind of sidelined at times in the movie. Like the Imperial Guard or whatever, his main guards. The
General is awesome.
The chick from Walking Dead, I forget
her
her name.
Michonne, banging it to the big screen.
She, from the hero side of the story, she was my favorite character. Yeah. She was a badass.
Absolutely.
She kicked ass in so many action scenes.
Yeah, because you love not only her fighting, her convictions, and she shows a lot of personality within that character too.
Yeah, she does. And then the one with all the levity, who I don't want to forget, the sister was great.
She was awesome.
She was really witty, and they gave her good, funny, like smart dialogue. That was really funny. That's
what I liked, was that they were able to juggle all these characters, and you still remember they all had their place. You remembered them all. They were all distinct. They didn't disappear within they had a couple scenes and you forgot, and then they come back into the story just because they needed them. Yeah. They all seemed to be there enough throughout the story. They were well paced. And there were a lot of characters. I mean, there's Angela Bassett in there as well, and Forrest Whitaker, Daniel Kaluuya, a number of other characters pop in. Martin Freeman, he was great.
Involvement, I think, brings in characters like with storytelling in general, right? When you have people just sitting on the side, you forget them. When they're involved, you remember them.
Exactly, yeah. There was definitely a Bond vibe to the movie.
The first third of it, maybe.
I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the sister who we all loved, Cholula
Tapatio.
Tapatio, the king, his sister. We don't know her name either, but she's totally
butcher these names.
Yeah, she's totally the Q character, and there's a lot of fun with showing off the tech.
Yeah, she's
very much. Yeah, that's cool. When she's like, "Hey, look at this."
Definitely very Batman and James Bond kind of
very much
mixed together to create this character. All the African stuff really does add a different flavor to the film.
And I love all that
cultural, the cultural difference. Yeah.
I love the opening scene. It's this really interesting sort of animated scene. I love it when movies do that. They just quickly explain certain things.
We needed a big history lesson with this film, so that was important.
Yeah, and it explained it quick.
Yeah.
And then all the ludicrous stuff you see makes sense. I don't think this movie feels like any of the other movies.
I felt like I was watching more of the same
really,
Marvel
it
products.
just was. I didn't know what I was watching when I was watching this movie. It was like you said, there's like 007 moments where they're like going in undercover. And then the next time it feels like a Conan the Barbarian movie. Like,
well,
artist, come on, artist, tell us give us the environment.
Yeah, so world building was great. I love that it had that unique feel to it. It was colorful. A lot of movies could always use more color, right? And just showing that cultural difference that was unique to that region and how that technology affected like everything about it, how they, evolved differently from the rest of the world, and they hid themselves and did this. And I think the cool thing is, John, you mentioned this earlier, like a segue, it was cooler than Asgard.
Way cooler than Asgard. Yeah,
cooler.
way more realized than Asgard.
Yeah.
And makes more sense. And like all their traditions and rituals and things, all that stuff was really cool to see, where even if we did see some of that in Asgard, it wasn't really that interesting.
Asgard looks like Wakanda took a big messy shit.
And then the 5 different tribes, they all were realized with
they played a part.
Yeah. It's interesting how
really well.
They're so technically advanced, but they stay primitive. Like, they stay that way purposely.
That helps them hide as well.
Yeah.
They were saying like hide in plain sight. So they have to have that primitive side as well to keep them hidden.
It looked like they pretty much had like Wonder Woman, like Themyscira, kind of just that invisible shield.
And all the underground stuff was really interesting. It was CGI renderings, but the environment looked cool though.
But it made you wonder how big was that rock that came in when they had so much of it to still mine.
Well, yeah, that'd be like a world killer. The size of that, it's like a mountain, they said. Yeah. That would kill the planet.
It would, yeah. So that's a little
not
interesting.
in Marvel land. Yeah. I had some issues with plot holes in the movie. I had issues with why certain characters do certain things. I can say this, and I don't feel it's very spoilery. Black Panther takes his face helmet thing off so much. Is it just to show us the actor?
They all do that. They do it in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but this guy's not famous though. It's not Robert Downey Jr. saying, "Hey, I need to show my face every 30 minutes."
Agree, but yeah, it was pissing me off. Right in the middle, when someone has a spear that they can easily just go like that to your face with.
I found quite a few plot holes because it's kind of an ambitious movie with a really out of this world type of scenario. So. And maybe there's a lot of things from the source material that I don't know about, so maybe it plays into that. But just our hero to me didn't sell me as the overall hero. I thought there was a big group of people that were the people that saved the day, and maybe that was the point.
Ryan Coogler, Creed was a great movie. I really enjoyed Creed. What he brought to this movie, I think he did bring a little bit more heart to some of these characters than you typically get maybe in an MCU movie. A little bit more of the dramatic side to the movie sometimes. There were definitely some kind of slower moments in the movie that I think worked and stuff like that when you dealt with family relationships, which is something he had a strong handle on with Creed, I think. He definitely didn't add anything to the action. He had there's like a one-take action scene that really stood out that wasn't that strong.
Yeah.
And he did a great job of that in Creed, of having the one-take fight that was one of the best moments in that movie.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work that well in this movie.
The car chase was my favorite scene.
Yeah. But the hand-to-hand fighting stuff was really hard to follow. It wasn't really visceral or exciting. And even though I wasn't a huge fan of Civil War in general, really, I kind of had a problem with the action in that movie being a step back from what I thought those directors were able to do with Winter Soldier. But in this movie, he just lost anything that was interesting about him in Civil War in terms of his fighting style. He looked like a cat. He was able to do these cool cat moves.
It was cut too quick. It was underlit. Civil War, they were using a guy in a suit. This movie was like we had said. It was like Agent Smith's fighting Neo. Like the CGI of the two fucking cats.
Well, you lost the physicality because of the CGI. I would have preferred less cuts, practical fighting, because you could totally have stuntmen in these suits if the main actors couldn't do it.
Why didn't they? Yeah.
They couldn't do that, and just make it more just kind of grounded and visceral and brutal, like we've seen in so many other movies.
It would have been so much better.
And it would be way more impact than all these cuts flying through the air, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't feel real enough. It was too cartoony. It was too cartoony by that point.
The only thing Coogler brought over from Creed to this was Michael B. Jordan's workout regimen, because he's freaking more jacked up in this than he was in that. Yeah. It's kind of like how Civil War decided to do things differently than what made Winter Soldier work so well. In this one, it's like, well, we're gonna have more of the cats fighting each other, so let's just cheap out and do CGI. Not that that's cheaper, but let's not do it the traditional way. And I don't know, it's like, because then you fall in that trap of CGI character. with CGI character, CGI environment, like you said about Justice League. You just get bored. Your brain doesn't process it. What was the best action scene to you?
The best action scene? Probably the car chase.
That was inventive.
Because the beginning and the end didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, beginning when we're seeing him for the first time, where they're trying to sell us on him, was boring and you couldn't see him.
It's illegal in 9 countries. It's made with bits of real panther.
Because they kind of had that little Lord of the Rings feel to it. It was very Bloom, very like
it was like Rivendell.
That's what very Rivendell, very bright in some instances, and you could feel like, you know, especially some of those ending scenes where you got to see the beauty of the land.
Yeah. The coolest, I think the most believable, interesting thing that wasn't real and no one was really on this ledge with the waterfall was when they have to fight. Yeah. I love the little waterfall fight scenes when they're challenging. For the
throne. Ritual for that was cool too.
The ritual was cool. I just think I was more underwhelmed by our main character for.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about him at all because he was underwhelming.
Yeah, he just wasn't.
Other characters
he was never the one winning the battle or doing, like, he was always being saved or helped or aided.
But do you think that was on purpose? That could have been on purpose. Maybe they don't want to show him being so overpowered, for lack of a better word.
He seemed confident and badass in Civil War.
This is a step
back from who he was in that film.
He was so much faster. He was way more badass in Civil War.
Well, I think in that movie he felt very focused, right? Maybe that was like
the revenge focus.
Yeah, like the revenge focus.
Maybe,
but still,
saving his whole country is not something to be focused. It did have a little bit of a political message.
It did.
I think it kind of played on both sides of the aisle.
I think that's what helped.
Pointing fingers at both sides at times.
Because you saw characters like, you know, ideology competing on both sides. Some stayed the course, some changed their mind due to the story. So that was at least good to see, like, growth on the ones that changed their mind for the better.
Yeah, it got pretty ridiculous though when Black Panther took over his crown and he started throwing paper towels out to the crowd and stuff like that.
So for my Gulp score for Black Panther, I would say it was about a 6.25. That's where I land these days with these movies. It was pretty. The main character wasn't really that exciting, but there was enough other characters that kept me really engaged.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6.25 as well. I'm like completely there with John because I don't dislike this movie. I like this movie. I just don't love this movie. So that's it for me. What about you?
Yeah, it seems like we got a pretty good consensus here. I was entertained. I liked it, but it's not like it was so great that I would go immediately back to see it again either. You know, kind of thing. So I guess I'll be slightly the highest with a 6.5.
All right. So, hey, y'all, thanks for listening to this review of us talk about the Black Panthers. That was a really important movement back in the 60s, and we're glad we got to share our thoughts of the Black Panther movement with you guys.
I'm sorry I ruined your Black Panther party.
Sorry I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party.
Oh, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Look for us under Cinema Gulp.
Do what this guy does. Every day we do a review. Click like and leave a comment. And subscribe, though you can only do that once. For Cinema Gulp, this is Ben.
And I'm John.
And this is Mark. We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!
There ain't no such thing as a Superman. There ain't no such thing as